And I've always been the type of person where I'm like, if the world is doing better, then I'm doing better. So I invest a lot in that. And I haven't always turned that around and asked myself what I want. And was actually very challenging for me to admit that I have personal dreams because for whatever reason, I considered it selfish. And now I know it's actually not selfish to have dreams. It's actually beautiful and wonderful to have dreams. And guess what? I have dreams.
Welcome back to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. My name is Reika and I am your host. I hope you're having a great day so far as you're listening to this podcast. If you are a new listener, welcome to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. And if you are a returning listener, I appreciate you so much for coming back and listening into this week's episode. So if you're new, quickly, a little bit about Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. This is a podcast that I started a year and a half ago. And I have been interviewing full-time yoga teachers from across the world because yoga teaching career path is an interesting one. There's not really a set path that is laid out for us. And each yoga teachers kind of pave their own unique path to make this into a full-time career. And I really wanted to speak to these full-time yoga teachers to see how they build their career path, what are some challenges they have overcome, and what drive them to continue on this path as a full-time yoga teachers. And I have also interviewed part-time teachers as well as teachers who used to be a full-time or who used to teach yoga and who no longer teach yoga or who may have kind of transitioned into another career path. So I'm just curious to hear all the stories that people have gone through. And I think we can all get inspired by these stories. We can all learn a lot from these stories and maybe even get some ideas and tips from these stories. And I really want to highlight that there are just so many paths to be a full-time yoga teacher. There's no one right way to do it or best way to do it. And I guess that's what I really want to highlight, as well as being a full-time yoga teacher is not for everyone. And I really don't want to glamorize full-time yoga teacher. In reality, I'm hoping I'm highlighting how difficult it is. So I guess we want all the listeners to know I'm not trying to convince anybody to be a full-time yoga teacher or tell you that this is the right path for you. For my own selfish reasons, since I've been full-time yoga teaching for about 10 years, I just want to speak to other full-time yoga teachers and hear their stories. Even though everyone's story is different, what's also interesting is that there's this common thread that keeps showing up in these conversations I have with full-time yoga teachers. And I think that's also a really fun, beautiful place to highlight these common threads as well. I'm thinking once I get to 100 interviews, not 100 episodes, but 100 yoga teachers that I interview, maybe I can make like a summary podcast episode of what I learned from speaking to 100 yoga teachers and what are the common threads that I can highlight, as well as different unique paths. That's an idea for a future. Right now, I'm just trying to get to 100 episodes. I'm close though. So all that to say, if you are a full-time yoga teacher or if you have a yoga teacher that you love who is working full-time in this profession or career that you want to recommend I interview, feel free to message me on Instagram or through my website. My Instagram is at Reika Yoga, ReikaYoga, and my website is reikayoga.com. One little announcement before I start this week's episode. I want to tell you about the mentorship program for yoga teachers that I run every year. So I break this mentorship groups into 3 modules. So every module is a 4-month long. And our third and last module of 2025 is about to start on September 1st. And this is a group mentorship program because I love the group and community aspect of learning together and being there for one another and supporting one another. I think that's such an important part of being a yoga teacher, as well as growing together as a yoga teachers. And what's included in the monthly mentorship? We meet once a month on Zoom for yoga philosophy discussion and Q&A session where you can bring any questions you have for me or for the group. We also meet once a month for pranayama and meditation class on Zoom. We also meet once a month for yoga book club meeting where we choose one book per module. So we go through one book per 4 months. So we are slow readers. So if you have a busy life, you don't have to stress. We also have practicum, which is where you all get to practice teaching on Zoom, and I get to give you feedback and we give each other feedback. And even if you teach online or if you have any interest in teaching online, I think teaching online can be a great experience to have. A lot of yoga world is shifting to hybrid model these days, so it doesn't hurt to have online teaching experience. And we also meet once a month for special topic workshop, and I usually invite a guest teacher who is an expert in the field that they are going to teach in, or I myself will teach this workshop. For module 3, I have a really exciting lineup of guest teachers. So first month, September, I'm going to be teaching a workshop on business of yoga, and that'll be online in Zoom. It'll be recorded as well. And second month, October, I have AJ, who is a yoga teacher and a physical therapist, coming back to teach a workshop on hypermobility. This will be in person in Long Beach, but I'll be live streaming people in on Zoom, and it'll be recorded for anybody who missed the workshop. For November, October, let me switch that around. For October, it's Karen teaching an intelligent sequencing workshop, how to sequence vinyasa class that is anatomy informed and intelligent. So I'm really excited for that. This one's also going to be in person and live streamed and recorded as well. And November is AJ teaching hypermobility. And for December, I have another doctor of physical therapy coming to teach about injury prevention in the yoga world. So that's the lineup. I mean, I'm so excited that we have not only one, but 2 doctors of physical therapists coming to teach a workshop, continuing education workshop for us yoga teachers. Some of you may know that I love anatomy and I love learning about human body, and I just can't get enough. I just want to learn more. And I feel like physical therapists have this vast knowledge that yoga teachers don't have yet, or we haven't been taught. So I'm just very fascinated by PT world, and I think there's a gap that can be filled with these kind of workshop where we can learn about the body from the expert. So that's the lineup for Module 3 mentorship, which I'm very, very excited for all of these teachers to come on and teach us their expertise. Like I said, we meet sometime in person once a month, but rest is Zoom and live streamed and recorded for anybody who missed the meeting. And whenever we do meet in person, it is also live streamed on Zoom, which means this is a hybrid style of mentorship program. You can join from any time zones, any countries. Obviously, if time zone allows, I would love for you to join live so we can interact with one another and ask questions and get to know one another. But all the meetings are recorded for those who cannot attend the meeting for any reason. I try to make this accessible as much as possible in terms of learning style. You also get one-on-one session with me to discuss your specific questions or your personal goals or anything that's very individualized to you. We can meet once every 4 months. That is one-on-one meeting on Zoom, or if you live near me, we can meet in person, and that is included in the mentorship program. You also get a unlimited membership to my online yoga studio where I teach live Zoom classes every week, and there's just a library full of hundreds of classes and previous workshops that is available to you by one click. So I think it's a pretty good deal. The most affordable option of this mentorship program is to sign up for the whole 4 months. In that case, each month becomes $45. I also don't turn anyone away. So if you want to be part of this community, but you are in financial hardship, I offer work trade. I always need help with my online yoga business. There is always work that I can delegate so that I used to do a lot of work trade when I joined the studio or training. So I really value offering that option for anybody who needs it as well. I think that's it for my announcement for this week. So this week, I have a really exciting conversation to share with you. I had brought Diana back for the second time to be on the podcast. If you remember Diana, I brought her on in episode 19. The title is Bridging Yoga and Action, Diana's yoga-inspired environmental activism. And she shared about her activism retreats and projects and all the amazing things she have done in her life. Also, she shared about her yoga journey and how she switched to online teaching during the pandemic. And that's kind of what she does now. She teaches online private and group classes. She also guest teach at different trainings and workshops. I actually invited Diana over to be a guest teacher for my mentorship program early on this year. She is not only an amazing anatomy-inspired yoga teacher, but she also a somatic experiencing practitioner, and she is trained in neurology of movement. And what she offers is such a unique blend of offering that is so different than anyone else and so fascinating. So I learned so much from her. I've taken her nervous system and yoga training before, and I've learned from her when she came to be a guest teacher on my mentorship program. She is just full of amazing knowledge and experience. I wanted to bring her back because of her recent super growth on Instagram. Last year, she had about 2,000 followers, and she decided to make a conscious, intentional effort to grow her Instagram account so that she can have a bigger presence online to be able to help more people and also to be able to sustain her online business. And within a year, she grown her followers from 2,000 to, I believe, 70 or 75,000. And she started talking a little bit about this on Instagram. And I messaged her and I'm like, Diana, you want to come on my podcast and talk about this journey and this growth and how you did it and what inspired to do it and how has your business changed since this growth? And she was so happy to come on, and I'm so grateful that she said yes. So that's kind of what this conversation is about, how she grew her Instagram and what it takes to do that, as well as how that has influenced or impacted her yoga business or online business, and also some challenges that comes along the way. So I hope this conversation is going to be interesting to you. If you are also interested in growing your social media presence or social media account, or if you were wondering what it takes to do that, or you're wondering if that is actually going to translate into growing your business. Because sometimes you can just have a big Instagram follows, but maybe it doesn't really translate to you earning more money as a yoga teacher. I really had fun talking to her, and if you have listened to Diana before, she's just such a kind, thoughtful person to talk to. So I hope you enjoy this conversation I have with Diana. I'll put all the links on the show notes for what we talked about, and I will speak to you on the other side. Welcome back, Diana, to Full-Time Yoga Teacher podcast. This is your second time coming on this podcast as my guest, and I'm really, truly excited to talk about this topic today. But before we get started, maybe tell the listeners, how are you? And also, where are you joining this conversation from?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's so fun to be back here, Reika. It's been amazing to connect with you over the years now and to be back on your podcast. I've seen your podcast grow and I love staying in touch. And I just feel honored to be back on this podcast. I have the first podcast linked in my About Me section because it's all about my yoga history. So I wrote out my bio and I was like, if you don't want to read this, just listen to this podcast.
It's so interesting with podcasts. Like, just sometimes I forget people listen. for the podcast. So they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Diana, I remember her interview." And like, you may have never met this person in real life, but they know about you, or they follow you on Instagram. And I think it's kind of really cool how different connections can be made on podcasts this way. So yeah, it's really cool that. So for listeners, if you want to learn more about Diana's journey of becoming a full-time yoga teacher, go listen to the previous episode. I'll link the previous episode on the show notes. But I brought her back today to talk about her huge growth on Instagram in the past year or so, that since last time we spoke. So I'm curious, maybe last time we talked about like where were you in your teaching life, like what kind of classes you were teaching, and then kind of what prompted you to decide to intentionally grow your social media account, and how has your teaching shifted or changed, if it did, since the putting intention on growing your social media. So maybe start with, I guess we can start with like what was your reasoning for wanting to prioritize that?
Yeah, I went to teach online in the pandemic like so many yoga teachers, and I had felt so fortunate because I spent many, many years developing a loyal and incredible in-person community that a lot of them followed me to the online world. And there was always that question of, will the online world be sustainable in the long run? And I fell in love with teaching online. I do miss teaching in person, but I moved
Mhm.
home to Michigan and I don't know any I don't know a lot of the yoga community here. I felt really burnt out from the pandemic and going through menopause and early menopause and just life. I was going through a lot of personal stuff too. So I just didn't have the capacity to build an in-person yoga community because I know what that takes. And I don't see myself staying in my current place for the long term. So I really wanted to invest my limited energy in online yoga. And it's challenging to build an online yoga studio. I found for years that my over 90% of who was coming to take my classes were my in-person people, which I absolutely love and adore, and I'm so grateful for them. But growth was really slow, and I'm not really the type of person to care or worry about how big I get or how big is my business. Like, that's never really been that important to me. I just want to sustain myself.
Mhm.
Um, but I had this epiphany that most of
Mhm.
my students are 60 years old plus. Like, I
Mhm.
think the average yoga student I have is maybe 65 or something like that. A lot of my private clients are 60 plus. And so if I want, I think like, oh, in 10 years, am I still going to be doing what I'm doing? And the
Mhm.
answer is, I don't know. So that was a bit scary to me. Um, that if I'm not attracting new students and I haven't figured out how to grow online, like I knew how to grow in person, that in 10 years, I might not be able to do what I love to do. And there's a couple other things that I got clarity on as I move forward, but I decided in that moment I need to grow my online business, and I have no
Mhm.
idea how to do that because
Mhm.
part of me rejects the online world even though I love it because
Mhm.
social media, I've been part of it for a long time and there's so many negativities to social media and I always would see people with bigger social media accounts and it was just like I was like, I don't want to put my energy into that. And I meant it. But I also saw social media as like part of me wanted it. Part of me wanted to just have more followers, get the reach I needed. So I just had to get over a little bit of my judgment about investing time on social media. And I decided to invest time and energy. And I can talk all about that process and what I did, but it's been very successful. And I'm still learning and I'm still growing and still figuring it out.
I have a few follow-up questions from that. Definitely want to get into like what strategy you use or currently use and what has worked and what hasn't. Were you trying to grow? Because I remember when we talked on our interview last time, a year ago, that you were telling me that you're trying to figure out how to find new students for your online studio. So were you trying to find new students for your online yoga studio, or were you more trying to find like private one-on-one clients that were maybe younger than 65 plus?
Yeah, the age didn't matter to me necessarily. First and foremost, I love yoga. I always want to teach public classes because they've meant so much to me. But I really love working one-on-one, and it was hard for me to get new one-on-one clients. All of my one-on-one clients were from my in-person base. So I really wanted a way to reach new private clients and people to come take my yoga class. Like, I was kind of like, I don't know what this is going to look like. But I also, at the same time, I've been in training. I just recently completed and got my SEP, which is Somatic Experiencing Practitioner. So it's the certificate of a 3-year program to directly with trauma in the nervous system. So it's a healing modality that you can integrate in your current scope of practice. So I was gaining more skill sets. And part of my idea of gaining more skill sets, I was inspired early on in the pandemic. I took an online workshop with Leslie Howard, who's an incredible pelvic floor teacher, and pelvic floor health, pelvic floor educator, yoga for the pelvic floor. Took an online workshop of hers and was blown away. And I was like, she's one of the smartest people ever. So I went to her website and looked at her education. And it's just like, I thought I had done a lot of training, but I was like, oh, she's so wonderful because she's invested so much in her education. I was like, I want to be like that. It was like an inspiration for me to invest more in my education and build more skill sets. And like, I've always been good at taking workshops or smaller training intensives throughout my time as a teacher. I think that's really important. But to invest in years long education always felt intimidating to me. So I enrolled in a couple programs and got some really in-depth skills and trainings that I did. That was also exciting to me because as I'm trying to grow my online business and I want to attract more private clients, like, I actually have new and more in-depth skill sets to offer them. So that was also challenging. Like, how am I going to show people? Like, people know me as an yoga asana teacher, and I have these new skills that I'm really passionate about that really are complementary to yoga. Like, how do I share them? And how do I share to people what I do and what I offer? Because the more I started to get specialized, the harder it is to talk about without going on for an hour.
It's so true. I feel like I try to sometimes explain to people what you specialize in. Oh yeah, I know a yoga teacher who specializes in like neural things that it's and a nervous system, and it's like really cool and fascinating, but it's like hard to really communicate exactly what it is. And I'm also not, educated in that area as well, so maybe that's why it's hard for me. But definitely I completely understand how it can be hard to really start to explain to people what it is that you do. But okay, maybe tell the listeners, what is it that you specializes in? Like, give me I guess a elevator pitch of what it is that you
Right.
specialize
So
in.
I really blend 3 different modalities, and one, of course, is yoga, and I have thousands of hours of training in a wide array of different aspects of yoga, but I love alignment-based and anatomy and yogic philosophy. So yoga is one pillar of what I offer. Somatic experiencing is another pillar, which is, as I mentioned, it's trauma resolution in the nervous system. So it's a modality created by Dr. Peter Levine, who is one of the most amazing trauma healers in the world. And he started this program. So it's based off of his life's work. And somatic experiencing is essentially just restoring your own nervous system's capacity to heal itself, because our nervous system naturally wants to fluctuate and go up and down. And there's this oscillating life force within it. And when we have trauma in our nervous system, it creates certain blockages. Somatic experiencing is a way to work directly with the nervous system to restore its own vitality and to metabolize energy that is being stuck on a traumatic loop, for example. So I do that work. And then being the anatomy junkie that I am, decided I wanted to learn more of the physicality of the nervous system. And I've been trained in applied neurology, which is working directly with the brain and the brainstem through the cranial nerves, but also just nerve pathways. And it's really looking at how the brain influences movement patterns and regulation from a brain based perspective. So I blend all these modalities into my own unique offering, and it's really lets me work specialize with individuals, especially I am passionate about working with people who have chronic pain and injuries because those are the people coming to my yoga classes anyway. Because I was so alignment focused, people who have chronic knee injuries or who have had a spinal surgery but want to keep doing yoga or broke their shoulder or whatever it is. Like I wound up getting a lot or just want to age healthfully. I got a lot of students who have chronic pain, chronic injury. So often with chronic pain and chronic injury comes some kind of trauma in the nervous system because it's traumatic to break a bone. It's traumatic to have long-standing illness. There's often emotional components to it. And there's often pain that I can support with neuro-based tools. So it's just like a beautiful combination that I'm like, this I just feel like things finally click of what I'm trying to do, but it was a long, windy, confusing path to get there, Rika.
I think listeners listening definitely go check out Diana's Instagram because you show kind of sounds complicated when you explain, but when you actually show on your reels, like short videos of what it is you do and like instant effect these like practices can have on someone's body, it's actually really fascinating. Go watch her reels and see it and feel it in your own body. And it's like so like eye-opening when you actually see the power, like powerfulness of your practice that you teach. So I think it's amazing because what you're offering, like you said, it's so unique. Those three pillars, you don't see other people doing anything similar to what you offer. And I think maybe that's also one of the reason maybe for the growth of your audience on social media because you're offering something very, very unique, I think.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. And I'll share that. I love that you pointed out how when I try to explain it, it's confusing. But if you just go see it or if you just go practice it, it's actually very easy. And that's really what I think social media is great at is it helped me get clear on how can I showcase very quickly the power of these tools because I don't want to overcomplicate things for people. I love getting nerdy. I love understanding every little thing about what's going on. But I think it was maybe Patabi Joyce who said it's 1% theory, 99% practice. And that's what I want to offer people is you don't have to actually know why. Our constant need to know why sometimes gets in our own way. And if you can just do some of the practices and feel it for yourself, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's actually very accessible and it will have immediate shifts in your nervous system, in your body, and your pain levels and everything. So I as a teacher and as a trainer like to have the information to share if people have questions, but I really just want people to practice it.
It's true. I feel like even because you have came and taught workshop, two-part workshop for my mentorship group about this topic, and you're very good at simplifying it to the point.
Well, and I think that's what, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, when you teach yoga for a very long time. I mean, I had years and years and years of telling people to get into Warrior Two. It sounds easy, but when you actually go through the teacher training and realize how many steps are involved in creating a yoga sequence, and you have to say so much in such a short amount of time. And if you speak too much, you've missed like people get confused or it gets choppy. Like there's an art to teaching public movement classes. And that skill has just seeped into every cell of my being. And I love explaining complex topics in very simple terms. I like that challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's what you do so well on your social media, like how the information you share on your Instagram. So let's talk about the Instagram a little bit. Was there strategy that you used or did you have somebody coaching you or mentoring you through this or what was some steps? What was some I guess steps you taken to try to start growing?
Yeah. Well, the first step I took was I just knew I'm gonna go a little meta, and then I'm gonna zoom in and share, like, exactly what I did, which may or may not work for other people. But the first thing I did was my own personal nervous system healing work, and I've been in my life the type of person where I care more about the collective than I do my own personal self. I'm a longtime environmental justice activist, and I would much rather like, to me, the biggest paycheck I've ever gotten was when one of the campaign for the Tule elk won, and a fence came down that was keeping the world's largest herd of Tule elk in captivity, and that was, like, the biggest paycheck I've ever gotten was to take down this fence and protect public lands and protect animals, like, that's my biggest paycheck. And I've always been the type of person where I'm like, if the world is doing better, then I'm doing better. So I invest a lot in that. And I haven't always turned that around and asked myself what I want. And it's was actually very challenging for me to admit that I have personal dreams because for whatever reason, I considered it selfish. And now I know it's actually not selfish to have dreams. It's actually beautiful and wonderful to have dreams. And guess what? I have dreams. I have so many dreams, and it feels so good to feel that desire for myself. And it's the flip side. Like, if I'm doing a little bit better, then the world is doing better too. Both lenses are valid and accurate. And sometimes I'm going to need to pay more attention to myself. And sometimes I'm going to need to pay more attention to my community or to even the greater community, the world. So I had to do a lot of that work first. And once I realized I had dreams, my dreams cost money. If I want, like, I dream of having land, like beautiful land that I can grow native prairies in and plant a native pollinator garden and maybe have a little sanctuary for some animals. Like, I dream of this, but it's actually going to cost me some money to do that. Plus, I have some family health concerns, and I learned I can take care of myself, but I really need to be able to contribute to help some family members. So, there are expenses in my life that are worth working for and worth saying, I need to make more money. So that for me was the first part that I had to admit, like, I need to make more money. It's not selfish for me to need more money. It's not selfish for me to want more money. Some people have an easy time with that. I had a hard time. So once I did that, I was like, how do I do this? Because I teach yoga. And I love teaching yoga and I want to teach it forever. So how do I make money doing this? And I didn't know, but I thought a step would be growing my online presence. And well, I'm sure there's other ways to do it. I think growing a social media presence can be a really great way to help actualize my dreams by doing what I love. So I have had social media for a long time and I've always kind of used it like, I've always been like, "Oh, but I don't love social media. I'm on it, but I don't love it," which is kind of true, but I needed to take it a little more seriously. I do not know how to do that, so I hired a social media growth coach, and I just went on social media and I looked up social media growth people, and I found this woman, her name's Whitney Bartlett, and she all she does is help people grow on social media, and so I liked her approach, like, she was pretty basic and focused, and I think her approach could work for lots of different people, so I gave her a shot, and I paid for her to audit my Instagram, like, she does profile audits, so I paid her to audit my profile, and so she went to it and gave me this huge breakdown of what she noticed, and then we met one-on-one to talk about what I was doing well and how to grow, and she taught me how to do market research. Like, basically, if I wanted to grow my social media, she asked me to find reels that have gone viral and study them. Like, reels that I like that have gone viral, like, create a folder on Instagram, like, when you're scrolling social media, like, look for what reels you like that have done well. Look for accounts that you like that are, that have a lot of followers that you like and study what they do, study reels that you like that have gone viral, and then try to make it your own. Like, try to like copy them in a way. And social media, unfortunately, like, there's trends, like, people do it's like there's kind of a formula to it, you just have to figure out how you fit in that formula. Like, I had to figure out like, I don't like formulas, I don't like cookie cutter, so it was hard for me to swallow this pill, but I was like, "You know what? If I'm gonna grow on social media, this expert in social media is telling me this is how you can do it." I did not listen to all of her advice because some of it is just like, I don't wanna do. But I followed her advice and it worked. Like, it really, really worked, and it helped me get clear on what I'm offering. I can share a little bit more, but feel free to ask it. I think you have a question.
No, those are so all fascinating. Like I'm like, yes, yes, tell me more. I'm listening to it all. And I guess because I sometimes always kind of with anything business related, yoga business related, social media or marketing or newsletters or promoting your retreat, whatever it is, um, I'm always kind of feel caught in between of like, should I invest in like coaches or mentors in the business area or not? Like I just feel like pros and cons on both sides of that. So that was really fascinating and informative for me to hear that you did seek out somebody professional who gave you great advice on it. But also interesting to hear you listen to some but not listen to all of the advice or feedback she gave you. And were you looking specifically for this, person to help you that was in like a yoga or wellness world or a completely different field that this person was helping? Like, how did you find her?
I mean, I honestly, I think I just kind of searched on Instagram, like social media growth and a couple I just followed a couple random accounts because I didn't know. I just followed like the first couple that came up and hers was, she's not anything, she's not yoga. She's not like all she does is social media growth. And so she's not like a somatic social media growth person or yoga business growth person. Like she's just very like, I help people grow on social media. And I honestly didn't know what I was looking for, and maybe that helped me and maybe I got lucky, but she was really good at what she does, and she's just keeps it very simple and she's very encouraging and also very focused, and just told me what she thought and told me what she thought I could do. I asked her a couple questions trying to clarify things because one of the things that I was stuck on is I do so much. Like, I have so many different skill sets. I teach yoga, I do trauma work, I do neurology, I also do activism. I also want to share about my cats. Like, I have so many, like, I am trained in menopause, I'm trained in bone health. I have so many things I want to share. And so it's hard to narrow it down and to be clear, like, how does this all fit into a social media strategy? And so I'll also share I hired her, and I think actually before I even hired her, sorry, I forgot this whole part. I hired Missy Bunch to help me with my business, who I did one of my neurology trainings with her because she's a applied neurologist. She has an amazing Instagram account and she does business coaching. So I hired her at first, and the best piece of advice I got from our one-on-one, I did one session with her. It was a 2-hour session, and she essentially helped me realize that narrowing down my focus doesn't exclude the other work. If I want to reach more people, it's better for me to just talk pretty much about one thing. And it doesn't mean I don't like I'm gonna be like the expert in this one thing, but when I actually work with people, I can still use all my other skills. Like it doesn't exclude me from using the other skills. So that was really helpful. We did a bunch of other stuff in her session.
I think that's really, for me, it's nice to hear that maybe some people can do it on their own, but it's also nice to hear that like sometimes really like investing in people who are good at this and who have experience and who know how to get you to a certain point. Like that can be such an important investment if that is your intention to grow your social media and you seeked out somebody who can help you in that. I think that's a good message to hear, that sometimes we have to invest our money into building our business.
Yeah, and it's hard, and I think for months I just tried to do it on my own how I was doing it, just trying to post more consistently, but I wasn't really seeing any shifts happening, and it felt like I was doing a lot of the same stuff, just more of the same stuff. And so that's when I decided to hire somebody. I'm like, I don't know how to do it any other way. Like, I've been doing this on my own my whole life. And so all I know how to do is more of what I already do with social media. So yeah, I hired people to help me think outside the box, to give me different ideas and to break down how it works on social media because I was just freaking clueless.
Tell us, like, what are some changes that you have made that you started to really notice impact or influence of any changes that you have been making? And also curious of the more of the details of how often did you change your how often you post, or you have this day Monday from this time to this time is when you make content and you schedule it out. Like what how does it would look like for you?
Yeah, I really wanted what you just said to be my strategy of like I just make a bunch of content on Fridays and then I can post it all week, but I cannot do that. I tried and it's just it was my worst part of my whole day, of my whole week, and I don't like actually making content. So what I had to figure out how to do is to make valuable content as lazily as possible because I don't like spending a lot of time doing it. So I know I could do better with social media if I put in a little more effort with like the filming and the lighting and some of the effects and some of the editing. I could do better on social media if I got better at that stuff. My boyfriend is always like, "You need to get lights. Like, your lighting is horrible." I'm like, "I don't I know you're right. You are right. I need to get lights, but I'm not going to." So what I do is I do try to post as I gave myself 6 months after I met with Whitney. She did my profile audit. She gave me a lot of very clear, tangible advice. And she said that when you're trying to grow your social media, you have to post every day. She actually said 3 times a day, and I was like, "No." So I was like, "But I can do once a day." So, how I was able to post once a day is by putting in minimal effort and just repeating what I saw working. So I spend no more I try to do a post within, like, under 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes me up to a half hour if I'm, like, getting caught up with writing it, but I don't mind writing out the caption, like, I like that part. So, um yeah, every day I just kinda go right here in my living room and make I'm like, "Oh, what practice am I gonna share today?" There was a couple so how she broke it down, there's, like, growth strategy versus sales strategy. So for a while, I was just trying to do growth strategy, which is, like, posting shareable viral content, and there's, like, a couple different ways to do that, which is boring to talk about and boring to hear about, but also I needed to learn it and there's different kinds of content, like, she broke it down into short form, mid form, and long form, and she was like, "You should have a variety, and whatever does best for you, like, with your analytics, do more of that." So, for me, what I learned pretty quickly was, like, my mid form, which is, like, 10 to 20-second videos, do really well. My short forms, not as much, which is like 6 seconds or under. And then long forms don't do as well either, but she says it's still important to have the variety, but do most of what does best for you. And there's a couple other small things like, always do the same text, like don't change your fonts, don't like just keep it very consistent. And make it very easy to read. So like pick easy to read fonts and put it in the similar place. So like people start to it like creates, I guess, like a brand or something. I don't know. It's just easier to read and more consistent. So stuff like that and, trending audio or whatever. She showed me how to find it. And So I just made a couple tweaks and I was like 10 to 15-second videos work really well for me where I share a practice and show what it does. And then I write about it in the caption. And I just do that every day. And it's a grind, but I try to make it as lazy as I can. So, and I don't mind it. Yeah.
I like what you're saying about like lazy as you can in terms of like your boyfriend saying that you can get better lighting. But I think sometimes people can relate to you more when it's not done so perfectly. Yeah, I feel like people can be like, oh, that's like, I can do that too. Or like, oh, this person is more relatable. Like we're similar rather than like, oh, this fancy influencer with like high quality camera and videos and microphone. It's sometimes you feel like you can relate to that person more when it's more like homemade.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And I'm like, I actually agree, but I literally never thought of that. I'm literally just too lazy to do better. I'm like, I've already invested the energy in like hiring somebody and trying, like posting every day is already a lot. Like, I just can't do more. I could, but I don't want to because I'm seeing good growth. And so I'm like, I don't need more. Like I'm happy. I'm content. I think this is where the yogic practices really come into play. It's easy to get greedy and I'm like, oh, I'm growing and like I could grow more if I get the better lights or the better effects or this or that. I'm like, but I'm actually doing really good and it's in a way that feels sustainable to me, and that's really important. Like, I don't wanna burn out on this, so I just have to make it easy for me.
I kind of want to touch on that not needing to grow, grow, grow. But before that, about creating content every day, how do you not run out of ideas?
Well, I do a lot of the same stuff or different shades of the same stuff. Yeah, sometimes it can feel a little repetitive, but I don't mind repeating myself because social media, your people's attention are like 3 seconds. So even if I'm repeating myself, chances are people forgot anyway. So I just had to get over being repetitive. And I learned that from teaching yoga because how many freaking times do we say, push your hands down into the floor or engage your quad, or like we repeat the same cues because they're effective and people kind of need to hear the same things over and over. So I think I repeat myself a lot on social media and I think that's partly why people like me. I don't repeat verbatim, but I share pretty similar concepts. Maybe I word it slightly differently or it's a slightly different exercise, but I don't try to stress myself out with being super novel. Like what I'm sharing is novel enough. I don't need to like recreate the wheel every post. Can't do it.
And yeah, I think that's such a good point because even if you're posting something every day and maybe there's a very similar thing you post, like most likely not everybody is seeing every single post or every single things you share. So it doesn't like even if you might be sharing something similar, like it could be reaching to different people each time you share.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like creating a yoga sequence. Like, how do you create a new yoga sequence every week or it's like, well, they're all kind of the same. It's just different intention or slightly different ordering of poses but it feels new every time.
That's such a good point you bring up. Like like sequencing, such a good analogy because we are kind of teaching very similar thing. We just make a tiny tweaks here and there. So definitely, that's a good analogy. So I want to know, like, since when you started applying those strategy of posting every day, and seeing what worked in your analytics, when did you start to notice change? When did you start to feel like this is actually working?
So it didn't take that long, which is both incredibly amazing and incredibly frustrating because amazing because I'm like, oh, I thought this would take longer. And it's so exciting that it's starting to work. So, about a month after the profile audit, I had the profile audit. And then a month later, I booked a one-on-one with the same woman just to check in with how things were going. And I remember that whole month, like, I wasn't seeing changes. So, I was excited to meet with Whitney to ask her what else I could do, but a couple days before our meeting, I started to gain more traction. So it took about a month for me to start to notice a shift with the consistency and the little tweaks I was doing. And by after a couple days of like getting some traction, I met with her and she was like, "Oh, well, actually, it looks like everything's working." I'm like, "It is." So within 2 months, I had gone from like 2,000 followers, which I think I was at 2,000 followers for 10 years or something because I know every one of those 2,000 people. And then I think in less than 6 months, I was at 50,000 followers. And now I'm at like 75,000 or just under that or something. So, like there's been spurts of growth and then it plateaus a little and then, but it's been this really nice trajectory up and I'm like, I think it's insane I have that many followers. Like, I'm the same weirdo in my living room moving my eyes and checking my shoulder rotation. I like clean my cat's litter boxes and vacuum and like it's like I'm the exact it's just crazy to me. I'm like, "Oh, this happened." So,
That's like amazing. And also, hopefully, listeners can be encouraged to hear that it took you sticking to that strategy for 1 month, and it took 1 month to start to see the tides shift. So, that's a lot quicker than I have imagined your answer to be. So, that's like also encouraging. So, thank you for
yeah.
sharing that. And um and then next, like a bigger question I have is how has you have you noticed your follower increasing and maybe engagement increasing, more people getting to know about you and your work? How have you seen that translate to your online business? Like, have you gotten more members to join your online studio or more private clients or maybe more job opportunities or not? So like I'm curious how that has translated to your business.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that really, and I mentioned this before, but was really cool for me personally is that I started to get very clear on what I can share easily on social media. And like these neuro tools are very easy to share and they're so impactful. And I do them all the time and I do them with private clients. And so at first I felt guilty to my private clients for like giving away all these amazing tools that I was working that they felt so special getting. And I'm like, okay, get over that. This stuff should be everywhere. Like everybody should know how to do this because it's so helpful. But it was really great for me personally to just get clear on what I wanted to share and what I can share and get more clear on like my message. That was awesome. And then the followers came and then the first growth that I noticed happening was actually other like businesses and wellness people and yoga teachers started to reach out to me to be on their podcast or to collaborate on a workshop or like speak in my training or like I started to get more inquiries like that and honestly that means so much to me because I always do this like, to me, it's all about community, and when I taught in person, I felt like I had a very real tangible community, and it's hard for me, can be harder to feel community in the online world because 'cause I'm just alone in my room a lot. So to actually be meeting other teachers, other creators, other healers, other people, it just meant so much to me. So that was, like, the first thing, like, "Oh, write an article for this thing." So that was awesome, and then I started to get more private clients because people started to do these little short reels on my Instagram, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can move my arm again," and they wanted to work with me privately, so I actually started to get more private clients. It started slow, but then it's definitely picked up and like with all privates, it ebbs and flows, but I've definitely seen an influx. And it's been really cool because I've been working with the same like 20 people for a long time and I know them so well. And so it was fun for me to use my skills with newer people to me. Like I'm very confident in the work I do, but I always did the work with the same people that I've known for so long. So it was really amazing for me to take these skills on new people and just like the fact that people trusted me to work with them one on one. I'm like, okay, like I know I'm trustworthy, but you don't. So I just I'm just so grateful and I've met a ton of people and have been able to support one on one clients. And that's really what I wanted to do. Yeah.
That's amazing to hear. And have you had any challenges that came with the growth of your social media following?
Not really, and maybe it's to come, like, I've been very fortunate and I have not had a ton of, like, they call them internet trolls. Like, I haven't had a ton I've had a little experience with it, but it just doesn't bother me. Like, people who make rude comments occasionally, I'm like, I just feel bad for them. I just delete it or block them, and then I feel bad for them, and I just move on with my life. So to me, that's not really a challenge to deal with. But I can see how it might be hurtful for others. Like, if somebody says something mean to you online, but I'm like, "Oh, it's so much a reflection of them." Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, delete. So easy to set up boundaries online, just block them.
True. I guess what I thought maybe could happen with such an increase in followers who's actually like really engaged in your teachings, is like maybe you get a lot of messages that you notice you spend a lot of time replying or messaging, or maybe people ask about their questions that they should just like sign up for to become a private client, but they want to, maybe it takes up more time to answering people's questions or
Yes.
inquiries or anything like that.
Yes, now that you mention it, that happens. Yeah, I do frequently get messages. It's so funny. I'm like, this is how I deal with conflict. I pretend it doesn't exist or the hardships. Yeah, I get a lot of DMs and a lot of people reaching out in my DMs, a lot with very specific challenging conditions, and this is a made up example because I actually don't wanna share anyone's inquiry on a live setting because I just want it to be as private as possible, but, like, somebody could be like, My child has this horrible condition and can't walk. What neuro tool can help?" And I get a lot of messages with, like, really extreme things that people are dealing with, and it can be a lot, and I well, I always try to respond, so it does take time, and I often can't help. I am offering these tools, I am supporting nervous system regulation, but I'm not working with you one-on-one. I don't know your history. I don't know the support team you have. So much of that is outside of my scope of practice. I am happy to be on a team of people supporting you with this condition, but, like, I can't answer that, and that is challenging to not to people are out there in so much pain. Like, I'm definitely an empath, and people are in a lot of pain out there, so that can be challenging, and I've gotten a little better at dealing with that over time of just being like, "That's really not in my scope. I'm so sorry. I hope what I offer can help you," you know? So there's a little hardship there, and it does take time, but I'm learning to create better boundaries with that, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess another question is, do you notice you have to set maybe stronger boundary around like how often you're on social media? Because with a bigger audience, maybe more messages that now you're posting every day. So I would imagine, because sometimes I don't post every day, but when I do post, I notice I check my Instagram more to make sure I'm replying to people, or if somebody message or comments, I want to reply it, and like I'm on it more because there's more activities happening. But with you posting every day and having bigger followers, I'm sure there's more comments and questions. Do you notice you're on your phone more, or do you have like a practice and like boundary that you set that you don't have to be always on it?
I need better boundaries, period. And I'm getting better at it. But yeah, I think what I notice for me is the hardest because I do work from home and my boyfriend works outside of the home, so I'm home alone a lot. And I don't we don't have kids. I do have cats, which I love. And in Michigan, the weather is quite like I'm not always able to go outside. It's really too hot or really too cold. So I can be inside a lot more than I'm used to. And when I'm inside and boredom arises, I notice myself go to my phone because there's always going to be a message, a question to answer, a comment to reply to. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm working." And there's like this weird, like, "Oh, I'm not being bored or being lazy. Like, I'm not doom scrolling. I'm working." And it's really easy to spend a lot of the day doing that. And what I noticed is that if I'm not careful, I can do that at night when my boyfriend is home, or I can do it when we're taking a road trip. And I'm like, I'm just going to check my phone. And I'm like, oh, I've definitely had to put a stop to that, and I really value time outside of work. Like my inherent value is like work less. And with being on social media, it's so easy to like kind of work all the time. So yeah, I really have to create much better boundaries for myself. And I've gotten a lot better at just like if I'm with somebody, my phone is down. Like I don't like if I'm out to dinner with somebody, I don't take my phone out. If I am with my partner, like I leave my phone down. Unless we're like together all day and you know what I mean? Like you check your phone a couple times. But yeah, I really have to I notice it takes me more mental effort to keep that boundary up because it's easier to breach for sure. So
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And another question that came to me was, what made you decide Instagram as the platform that you wanted to focus on instead of like YouTube or I don't know, TikTok or I don't know, there's so many other, I guess, platforms out there. So what made you
yeah.
decide on like Instagram is the one I'm gonna focus?
It's the only platform I'm on. I deleted my Facebook. I don't have TikTok. I don't do you like I don't do YouTube. I never am on YouTube. Instagram is literally the only social platform I'm on. So, laziness in the best way possible, by the way. Like I don't think lazy is a bad thing just for the viewers. Like I'm not insulting myself. I'm complimenting myself.
And I know you also do like retreats, and I know you teach like the nervous system and yoga workshop that you teach every other year or so. So in those kind of bigger offering that you do, have you noticed you have gotten maybe more interest to or people who want to sign up that you actually didn't really know besides social media? Like a lot of time it's like our in-person students who sign up or friend of a friend or student's friend. But have you noticed people you don't really know, but they know you from social media actually like wanting to sign up for your bigger offerings?
Yeah. Well, I think when you invited me to teach for your mentorship, which is a huge honor, by the way, that was, I think, one of the first public workshops that was available to people where my Instagram was starting to get bigger. And I did notice, it wasn't a huge turnout, but for me, I was like, I don't remember, like maybe 10 or 15 or something people signed up and I only knew a handful of them. So I was like, oh, like people want to learn more from me. Like this stuff is interesting to people other than me. Which I, of course, think everybody should be interested in it, but that doesn't always work out in the real world. So that was the first time I was like, oh, people are interested in learning more. Then one of my teachers, Neve Daly, who I did her yoga for menopause training and her yoga for bone health training, she approached me to create a yoga for brain health training. And so we collaborated and made our neurosoma yoga training together. Yeah, we sold out our first training very, very quickly. I mean, we capped it, I think, at 40 people, but like I've never had 40 people sign up for anything online before. So I was like, wow, like people want to learn this. And I sound surprised because it's just part of me is always going to be surprised that like I'm doing this because I'm just like a regular person who's just been trying. I like just teach what I love. I'm like, people want to do this? What? But also part of me is not surprised because I honestly and truly believe that like the neurology of movement is the future of movement. Like if you're in a movement profession and you're not sure how the brain influences movement, like you're going to need to learn how to do that. Like it's the cutting edge thing in the movement world and it influences so much. So I'm not surprised people want to take this training because when you learn how the brain works and how the brain influences movement, it makes everything make sense. And you can help so many more people. So I'm not surprised people want to learn from me, but also I'm like, what? People are signing up? This is crazy.
It's true though. I remember that workshop. There was a lot of people that showed up, and a lot of people that like besides my mentorship group, and maybe I had a couple people from my audience that signed up, but it was majority like people you brought in, and there was a lot of people. So that was really cool. That that's when you're starting to grow. And another question I have is, I guess, advice maybe. Like, I have already gotten a lot of great golden nuggets from this conversation already. One thing for me that I'm taking away is like, okay, posting more often. I don't know if every day is something I can be doing it right now, but like maybe work towards it in the future. But like, I could always post a little bit more. And also, like, not worrying too much about making it look so nice or perfect. Just, I think maybe frequency and consistency is more important than like quality of the beautiful, how polished your videos are that you're posting. And obviously, the content and the message should be important too. But what else? Like, what other advice would you give to yoga teachers listening who might be like little bit hesitant to go all in on social media. Like I hear that a lot from yoga teachers is like they either don't like social media or they're very hesitant to post or invest in their time and energy on social media. Like what kind of advice would you give to teachers who are maybe hesitant, but they also realize the impact and influence social media can have on their business? Like what kind of advice would you give those teachers?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm sure there are other ways. And if you're teaching mostly in person and you're happy with that, like, I think you don't need to do social media. And for me, it's been an amazing way to reach more people. And so I guess my advice is if you do want the freedom of an online business where you can travel and you don't have to be tied to a studio, like you'll make so much more money working for yourself than you will working at a yoga studio. And that's no diss to yoga studios. I love yoga studios and I want them to keep existing because they're so important. But as a yoga teacher, you just don't make a lot of money at them. And you can make so much more money if you invest in your own offerings. And if I can do it, you can do it. Like if I can do it, you can do it. Period. The other advice I'm going to give too is like keep investing in your education. And I imagine people listening to your podcast, so if you've done a 200-hour, hopefully you walk away from a 200-hour knowing that you have so much more to learn. I think I gave this example to you maybe, but I consider the 200-hour like backpacking Europe, even though I've never backpacked Europe. But, like, you backpack Europe and you see all the different places, and you basically now know where you wanna visit next time for longer. Like, you don't really get to know any one place that well, so you really have to invest in your education. And there's so many amazing fields to gain training in, so yeah, if you want to make more money and also help people with their health, with their wellness, with whatever it is, like you'll make more money doing it for yourself than you ever will at a studio. And you have to invest in your own education and you have to invest in your own healing too. Like keep up with your own practice and do your own nervous system healing work too. Like you have to prioritize your own care.
Those are all such a great advice. And I really agree with you that like social media doesn't have to be the way. Like, there are amazing teachers who's doing well and like who's doing great in their business without a huge social media following, or some teachers don't have a social media. So I think to say that I don't think it's a requirement for yoga teachers to have, it is one path though. Like it is a one path to grow your business. It is a path. Like if you choose to and if you want to invest in that path, I think Diana is a beautiful living example of like really choosing to focus on that and prioritizing on increasing her audience in social media and how that really translated to her online business growing, which I think is so beautiful and really inspiring to see. And that's why I'm so
Yeah.
happy that I got to bring you on to so you can share about it. And I'm very thankful that you really shared with like honesty and authenticity. Like you're like, yeah, this is what I did and like this has worked for me and everybody could be different. But I think it's so important and really cool to hear those kind of stories. So thank you so much for coming on today. And is there anything else like that I didn't ask or anything else that you want to share or say to the listeners in related to this topic?
Yeah, well, the last thing I definitely want to share is that, well, I guess two things. One, lots of people noticed my growth on social media because I do actually know a lot of the people. Like, I've kept in touch with a lot of my community, and they're like, "How did you do this?" And I'm like, "I really tried. Like, I hired people, I paid people to tell me what to do, and I did it. So it's not something that just happened. I'm like, I really tried to grow and I worked for it. And then the other thing is that I really want to share that I just created this workbook because while I do a lot of private client works, like how I was saying that I get a lot of DMs all the time that take up a lot of energy. Like I realized I can't, like I am only one person. I can't work one-on-one with everybody. Like I just don't have the time for that. All these people have so many things going on and there's so many people in pain. And I wanted to give those people a resource that would help. So I created this 12-day workbook and I'm taking you through my process of how to assess all of your cranial nerves. It's also an amazing resource for teachers who want to learn more about cranial nerves and how you can start, experiencing the power of working with your cranial nerves and how easy it is. So if you are a yoga teacher and are interested in learning more about the cranial nerves, like I made a super affordable resource that will take you through my entire process and teach you all about how to work with the cranial nerves. And if you are experiencing pain or limited mobility or are just curious what it could do for you, like it's a 12-day process where I show you how to create your own best protocol with the cranial nerves, because it's not like do this and this will happen. Like all of our nervous systems are unique. So the workbook shows you how to figure out what you need. So I'll share that resource with you because it's really
Yes,
exciting.
please share. I think I saw that on your Instagram story. I think you shared a little bit. It looked really cool from the little bit that you shared. So definitely, I'll put the link on the show notes for that resources. And I'm sure that would be super helpful for teachers and also any non-teachers who might be interested in this work and who might also going through chronic pain or any kind of challenges. So thank you so much, Diana. I learned so much, and definitely you have been such a big inspiration for me. So I'm so happy that I could have this conversation with you again for the second time on this podcast, and hopefully everybody listening can also get inspired from what you were able to accomplish in the past year. And I'm excited to see where it goes in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode and the conversation I had with Diana. I hope you were inspired as much as I was from this conversation. I mean, when I listened back to this conversation, there was so much that she touched on that I wanted to kind of ask more questions or go deeper that I couldn't get to because we just have limited time. But I just also love that, she said she worked on her own nervous system before intentionally trying to grow her Instagram, in terms of what she said about how it's okay for her to want to make more money, and that is a good thing, that is okay thing to do. And I think that's something that I think many yoga teachers might have challenge with. Like we feel guilty for wanting to make more money. And I also really loved how she said it's not just about growth. Like she's not trying to just go bigger, keep growing. Like she's happy and trying to find contentment and practice yoga philosophy of like, I'm really happy with the growth I have so far and it's working. So I'm just going to keep going at this pace, and I don't need to, and I don't feel like I have to keep going and growing and maybe buy a new camera, buy a new mic, make it fancy and perfect. She's like, this is working. I'm happy with what it is. And, it's still growing, and she's really grateful and content with how far she has grown so far. So I love how she drops nuggets of yoga philosophy and teachings into this conversation. And yeah, I think I can relate to this, having this mindset of entrepreneurship and working so hard, and maybe idealizing working so hard and being productive and trying to grow and make more money. But in the end, you have to think about for what for. Obviously we want to sustain our living, and it's okay to want to earn more money to be able to do the things we want to do that brings us joy and hopefully also bring some kind of positive impact and influence in the world. I sometimes have to remind myself that I don't have to keep growing. At some point, maybe I'm happy where I'm at, or I just need to change or tweak a little bit of my offering or where I put my energy on, not necessarily grow or teach more classes, make more money. Sometimes that can lead to burnout, or maybe even feeling resentful, or maybe sometimes I feel like I can get lost and forget my real true value of reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. So anyway, all that to say, I think it's so important to kind of really reflect on yourself and have that conversation with yourself before just trying to just grow or make more money. I think it's so important to kind of check in with that. Like, what is important for me, and how can I stay and stick with my value as I intentionally try to grow my business. So anyway, thank you, Diana, so much for coming on to share about your experience of growing your Instagram. You have definitely inspired me, and I will definitely put links on the show notes of her ebook, as well as how you can find her. Go check out her reels if you want to learn what she's talking about with cranial nerves and eye movements, and she have amazing videos and reels on these stuffs on her Instagram. So go check it out. And I think that's it for me today. I will definitely link my mentorship program for yoga teachers if you want to apply and join us starting September 1st. I would love for you to come and join us. You'll be really surprised, or you'll be happy to know that the community of yoga teachers we have cultivated over the years are so amazing, so kind, so welcoming, and so supportive. And I think that is what I'm most proud of, I guess, in this mentorship program, is the community. So thank you all for listening. You can always message me through Instagram at Reika Yoga, or through my website, www.reikayoga.com. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platform, I would love if you can review it or star it or subscribe it, and all the ways that can help this podcast grow. But the most important thing is share this podcast, share this episode with somebody you love, yoga teachers that you know of, or anybody you think this episode might be of a benefit. Share this episode or share this podcast. That would mean a lot to me. That is it. I hope I'll speak to you next week, and have a great day.